By 1368, when the Ming Dynasty was founded, the glory, power, and confidence of the Tang Dynasty were long gone. Repair of the Great Wall became a priority around the mid-15th century. The formidable remaining forces of the Yuan dynasty were pushed to the far north in the early Ming dynasty, but still made frequent raids into Ming territory. Repairing the Great Wall became an urgent matter. The project involved Shanhai Guan Pass, an important thoroughfare that was the symbol of the Great Wall. Xu Da, the army general in charge of the project, chose the location and supervised construction. The growing strength of the Mongolian tribes in the grasslands posed a threat to the northern border areas. In 1449, a Mongol tribe attacked Ming forces. Emperor Yingzong engaged them at Juyong Pass with 500,000 troops. Juyong Pass, which protected Beijing's northwest, was one of the most famous passes on the Great Wall. Yuan Emperor Xundi wanted to retake his lost capital, but first he had to go through Juyong Pass. The Ming army was defeated by the Mongol tribe at Tumu Fortress. The Ming army was wiped out, and Emperor Yinzong was captured. This battle proved to be a turning point in Ming history. From then on, the Ming dynasty avoided confrontation, only defending the central plain. In 1568, following a proposal by army Qi Ji Guang, the Ming dynasty began a large-scale wall rebuilding project. The weak Ming court hoped the wall could protect them from the formidable Mongolian cavalry. This was the last and largest rebuilding project in the Great Wall's history. The Ming Wall once ran from the Yalu River in the east, crossed present-day Liaoning, Hebei, Tianjin, Beijing, Inner Mongolia, Shanxi, Xianxi, Ningxia, and Gansu, and ended at Jiayu Pass in Gansu. The rebuilding project required many soldiers. This stone was discovered by accident. The names of Bao Ji Hua and Wen Chu Hua from Hu Guang could still be discerned on this stone. Both were soldiers from Hu Guang stationed on the Great Wall. The Ming Dynasty conscripted soldiers and relocated them to this site to rebuild and guard the wall. The soldiers were responsible for both rebuilding and maintenance. The project was divided into sections for management purposes. These tablets mark the boundary between two sections. The Ming-built sections of the wall were the sturdiest and most defensible. Just as the wall had been from the beginning, the Ming Dynasty Great Wall was designed to stop cavalry attacks. The wall followed the terrain, with fortresses placed at strategic places. In order to follow the terrain, fortresses had to be built on artificial mounds in some places and on top of mountain peaks in others. Fortresses at strategic sites meant building them at high and perilous sites. Fortresses were also built near mountains and rivers as natural defense barriers. By controlling the sources of water, oases, roads, and passes, the Ming army was able to keep the enemy from obtaining supplies and force them to withdraw. After the Mongolian Anda tribe made peace with the Ming during the reign of Wan Li, the former enemies began engaging in trade, and the northern border areas became peaceful. In the northeast, however, the Jurchen tribe was still a serious threat. More manpower and material resources were devoted to the wall project to counteract the threat. Qi Ji Guang, an army general, planned and supervised the rebuilding of the Great Wall between Shanhai Pass and Juyong Pass, a 600-kilometer stretch. The Jin Shanling Great Wall was the best section. Built under Qi Ji Huang's direct supervision on a perilous mountainous area, it was extremely solid and well designed. Guang was very creative in building the towers along the wall. This typical tower is mainly made of brick and stone and is 9.7 meters by 10.5 meters by 9 meters high. The inside of the tower walls were filled with rocks, earth, and lime, and the floor was paved with square bricks. There were 2 entrances. There were 11 positions for archers. The stairs were located on the east side. On the upper floor, there was a brick bunker. There were 67 such towers on this one 10.5-kilometer stretch of the Jinshanling Great Wall. This greatly strengthened the defensive capability of the wall. Many people know that the Great Wall is the largest defense work in the world, but few know about its defense features. The Great Wall was always a system of walls, beacon towers, and fortresses. The most critical sites had even stronger defense capabilities. There is one such place on the Jinshanling section that survives, but it is now nearly invisible under the weeds and brush. The core of the defense system is the bunkers. Together with the 3 defense lines outside, they formed a formidable barrier to enemies. West of this bunker, on a mountain ridge, is a tall north-south wall known as a support wall. There are 2 huge towers and batteries for artillery on the support wall. A little over 200 meters on either side of the bunker is a round watchtower that provided an excellent view of the surrounding area. A passage between the wall and the bunker allowed soldiers to attack the enemy from both behind and in front. The support wall was only the first line of defense on the wall. About 50 meters from the bunker on the mountain slope is a stone wall about 200 meters long and 2 meters tall. This anti-cavalry wall was the second line of defense. Hugging close to the bottom of the bunker is a semicircular wall about 15 meters long and 2 meters tall with many windows for archers. This is the third line of defense. The 3 lines of defense form a structure that is easy to defend, but hard to attack. Members of the Great Wall exploration team have made a thrilling discovery using only their simple tools.
它有4个射孔。
射孔外边挺隐蔽，还有什么玩意儿？这边墙平的是。
建筑这东西。然后咱们把这些资料什么到时候。
These 3 bunker-like structures in northern Funing County in Hebei Province have never before been documented. This discovery fills a gap in the study of the Great Wall as a complex defending system. This discovery provides further proof that the Great Wall, the longest defense work ever built, is more than just a wall. In a sense, though, the Great Wall is just a wall of bricks and rocks. Bricks and rocks were the main materials used to build the wall in the Ming Dynasty. Bricks, specially made for the wall, were laid on top of piles of various shapes and sizes of rocks. Some of the kilns used to make these bricks are still in good condition. Some of these kilns were found in a village in Hebei Province. An excavation revealed 66 Ming Dynasty kilns below the soil in this field. Most of the kilns were reburied to preserve them, leaving just 2 for exhibition purposes. Each kiln could produce about 5,000 bricks, enough for 100 centimeters of the wall itself, or about 60 centimeters of the wall plus the other structures. The eastern part of the Ming Wall was 1,500 kilometers long and used 12 billion bricks from 2 million kilns. The Great Wall at Shanhai Pass at Luochang contains many inscribed bricks. Some of the characters inscribed on these heavy gray bricks are still recognizable in spite of the centuries exposed to the weather. These bricks were made in Luanzhou in 1584. This indicates that most of the builders were locally stationed soldiers. In addition to bricks and rocks, a variety of locally available materials was also used to build the wall and associated structures. Dark red marble was used east of the Baiyang Yu boundary tablet, a material rarely seen on the Great Wall. This is the first time that the marble section has been filmed. The dark red marble was the finest material used on the wall. At the mountain pass of Dushiko in northern Shichang is a 1-kilometer section made of red flagstone with no mortar. The individual stones were so well shaped that mortar was unnecessary. The Ming Wall in Gansu province is made of a mixture of clay and sand in many places. Thanks to the arid conditions in the area, this section of the wall has surprisingly fared well for hundreds of years. At Dongjia Kou made use of the natural cliff face. The wall is very smooth and steep, making it almost impossible to climb. In addition to its military function, the Great Wall is also a cultural site. The Ming Dynasty wall was as strong as the technology of the time allowed. Unfortunately, it was not enough to stop the Qing army. On April 24, 1644, 150,000 Manchu troops under Prince Dorgan broke through Shanhai Pass, proceeded to Beijing, and seized power. Zhu Youjian, the last Ming emperor, hung himself in despair on Jing Hill, behind the Forbidden City. The downfall of the Ming made the new occupants of the Forbidden City wonder if the Great Wall was really an effective barrier to invasion. It seemed as though the inanimate wall was not enough to protect the people. In the mid-17th century, the aggressive Russian Tsar repeatedly sent armies to try and conquer the Heilongjiang area of China. Qing Emperor Kangxi, a military genius, personally planned and directed a counterattack. The Tsar was forced to negotiate a peace treaty after his decisive defeat at Yaksa. In September 1689, China and Russia concluded the Treaty of Nerchinsk, which defined the border between them. Emperor Kangxi didn't agree. He believed the best defense was the people's support, not a wall. He was really a far-sighted and wise politician and military strategist. He chose popular support over the repair of the Great Wall. He believed that an obedient and submissive populace was the ideal way of ensuring peace in the border areas and protecting the country. He could neglect repair of the wall, but still had to protect the border. He employed military might, diplomatic marriages, economic aid, and religious indoctrination to ensure the loyalty of the formidable Mongolian cavalry against Russia to the north. No one knows how many soldiers guarded the Great Wall throughout its history. While guarding the border, they were also protecting their own hometowns. The soldiers kept close watch on the border and therefore hold a permanent and important place in Chinese history. The Great Wall has witnessed a vast sweep of Chinese history. It has also been witness to the loneliness and suffering of the soldiers who lived and worked on it. Though China is no longer suffering from the scourge of war, this man-made wonder is still like a dragon climbing over the mountains and through the valleys. As the Great Wall winds through the terrain like a huge dragon, it is a constant reminder of times past.